Ellis County Commission meeting to order. Before we start, please, we're going to observe a moment of silence for employee Justin Baskill, who passed away over the weekend. Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, will the clerk please call roll?
Commissioner Neil Younger.
Present.
Chair Nathan Liker.
Here.
Commissioner Michael Burgess.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Gentlemen, are there any changes to the order of business?
I have none.
I don't have any.
Aaron, you have any? Okay. With that, we'll move on to the prior minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look through those?
Yes.
Okay. Prior minutes are good. The consent agenda.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through G.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, consent agenda is approved. Next, we have issues from persons not on the order of business. Anybody from the public that wishes to speak?
Hi there, my name is Jason Fitzgerald. I'm with Cards. We are a local trash hauler here in town. I know that we've been talking about the transfer station rates quite a bit. I brought our team with us today. We have Lori Kennedy, who runs that division for us here. We have our division fleet manager, Jeremy Miller, our sales manager, Cody Yandell, and our CRO, Dustin Reynolds, here with us today. So just wanted to say thank you guys for your partnerships. We know Oktoberfest is coming up. We're excited to be providing containers for that. And we understand that there's always increases, there's costs that go up, and we want to let you guys know that we support that. And we are also excited, I think it's next year, you guys are going to put that out for bid for operating or hauling as well, and wanted you to know that we are definitely interested in that as well. So anytime you guys need anything, please feel free to reach out or call us.
Okay. Well, thank you.
guys.
Okay.
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else from the public before we move on? Nope, okay, sorry. I wasn't sure.
All right, I'm Emily Knowles with Oktoberfest, the Oktoberfest director, and this is Jeff Jordan. He's a part of Oktoberfest as well. And we just came to ask to see if the dump fees for cards can be waived for this year as part of their donation from the Ellis County Commissioners.
And this is something we did last year, if I remember correct.
Yeah, you've done it for a few years. Mhm.
Okay. Usually how many containers is that?
It's two big roll-offs.
Okay,
Yeah, it's either 25-foot or 30-foot roll-offs.
230 yards.
Yeah.
okay.
I think it totals about, I think last year it was around $500 or $600, something like that.
With it being donated, we
Yeah.
don't
You
really
don't,
get the, it's
Yeah.
just waived. So I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but yeah, I'd say about each 30 yard probably carries about 2 tons each.
okay. Discussion, gentlemen?
Fine with it. We've done it before. I think it's a good event to be a donation from the county at that part, so that works for me.
Okay.
We did skip over the monthly.
Oh, I did. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and finish this and
Yeah.
we'll do that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so do we have a
Everything that
motion?
helps out, so, yeah.
Do we have a motion to go ahead and waive fees for Oktoberfest, or?
I'll move to approve waiving the disposal cost of trash for the Oktoberfest at the Ellis County Transfer Station.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Thanks
Thank you.
again.
Have a great day.
yep. Before I forget and move on, the monthly departmental report. Has everybody had a chance to look through that and observe what our departments have been working with?
That's
Any comments?
busy.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay, moving on from the monthly departmental report. Next, we have the Amateur Radio Club letter of support.
Morning, Commissioners. Thanks,
Morning.
Nathan, for inviting me to speak. The Ellis County Amateur Radio Group has about 50 licensed amateur radio operators in the county. Beginning at the first of the year, we had a new person move here from Colorado Springs who'd been involved with the ARES program, which is the Amateur Radio Emergency Services, which is a local, state, and national emergency communications program. And so he encouraged us to start a program here in Hayes, which, at least in my 37 years of being an amateur radio operator, we've not had. So this gives us some capabilities. We're not here to compete with the county. We're here to assist. Is what ARES does. All of the members are required to complete 4 courses in FEMA Incident Command System and Skywarn training. So the purpose of our grant was to upgrade our current radio system that we have in the county. Right now, our VHF repeater, which is on the Spring Hill Tower, which I believe is a county tower, is nearing 30 years old, and it's an analog system. We do have one digital repeater up north of town on a tower that the club owns, and the digital radio system is pretty amazing. With my little handheld radio, I can actually link it through the internet and contact stations around the world. So, but what the amateur radio group offers is mostly high frequency, and in the packets I handed you, there is a map, and it kind of shows you the capabilities of radio. Here locally, and what public service uses is VHF or UHF radio. So if you look at that map, it covers basically the county and 50 miles out. So we have that capability now. The digital system will expand it. But the question I have for you to think about is that red circle is 100 to 500 miles. That gets us to Topeka for emergency situations such as Greensburg tornado, and that's point to point. The county does not have that. Beauty of the ARES system is we've all registered our qualifications and equipment. There's 20 of us in the group that all have that capability. So if the need ever arose that you needed, if we had a complete failure of our local communications, which happened in Greensburg, and at the time, the state ARES group called volunteers to go down there, and I was one of them that got called. So we have that capability. I just want emergency management to know that. The ARES group does liaise with your emergency manager. Marion Miller is our emergency coordinator. He's been an amateur radio operator here for 41 years, very knowledgeable on the subject. So that's basically it in a nutshell. We're available for public service, and Marion would be the person to contact. We have a Facebook page with all of that. I do have a roster of our current members, letter of support from Senator Moran, and just what the FEMA transcript looks like of the courses that we need to take. If any of you have not taken the Incident Command course, it's well worthwhile. It's something you do on the internet, and then you have to get a 75% or better to pass to go on. But it is, even at an administrative level, it would be worthwhile training to go through just to see how the incident command system works for any emergency. So, questions?
Very good.
I just like that you guys offer that service if we do need it, and like you say, you do have Marion, and he's a...
Yep. And the other thing I'll throw out is Dallas Hazelhorse and his wife at STEM Harvest. He has given us a space in that building. And if you look on the roof, there's a very tall silver antenna. That's our HF antenna. So we do have a all-mode HF, VHF, UHF station there. But again, the beauty of ARES is it's mobile. We can take the stations anywhere. At our latest field day back in June, which is a national event, the third weekend of June, we set up portable stations out at the old fort, and we contacted over 400 stations in 24 hours, 49 of the 50 states, and I think as far away as Spain. So that capability exists, and it's all volunteer. So I'm not asking for money. I'm just asking for a letter of support. So.
No, I think that's great. I didn't realize such a club existed in the area, so I'm glad you came to and spoke publicly about it.
Okay. Thank you.
So,
As far as the letter, would you craft that, or do you have a template that we use, or
Yeah, we
how
talked
do you
about that
want it?
before the meeting. I'll submit what Senator Moran sent us, but I'm happy to draft the letter and
Okay.
send it to Nathan
Okay.
if you want, or whoever you want me to send it to.
Yeah, does that work for you?
Yeah.
I think that's,
The application is due September 1, so I'm hoping to have it pretty much all wound up by the end of this week if I can.
this is our copy, or do you need
But
it
you can
back?
keep that.
Okay.
So,
To replace that on the tower, who does that, or will do that, or how
who
does that?
places it on the tower?
Yeah.
The antenna system's already there. We're upgrade,
Okay.
the grant is going to be for, we're going to put in a second digital repeater, which so we will have VHF and UHF capability. They're both internet linked. And what else is there? And that's on a tower that the club owns up by where the old Higherview Dairy used to be north of town. So from that tower with my handheld radio, I can talk anywhere in the county. So it's even as far away as Wilson Lake, I've been able to get into it. So
And Darren, as part of our emergency response, is there any reason to believe it would interfere, cause us any issue?
No, the Amateur Radio Club in Ellis County has always been very willing and open to let us know that if we ever need their help, they're just a phone call away. They do have the equipment on the Spring Hill Tower that's owned by a company out of Great Bend. The county does pay their rent. We have to pay rent for the different services that we have on that tower, three different components, but none of it interferes. They're all UHF, mainly UHF, VHF, and we're in a different frequency range.
That one's VHF, and you do pay the power for it, but the power demand's pretty low.
The power, and, well, we don't pay the energy, we just pay a quarterly rent to First Wireless out of Great Bend. They're the ones that own the tower.
And that's in conjunction with the space that we have as a county as well.
Correct, yep.
Okay.
There's
There
a
are
communications
county
tower that's
radio
pretty
systems
substantial.
on that tower. Yeah. So, the one up north of town, we pay the power bill for it, and the internet link is a radio link that comes here into the STEM Harvest Center. So there's no cost involved there.
Okay.
So,
I think I'd support that. That works.
Okay.
Appreciate it, Kendall.
Do we have a consensus that I could sign it once we have a digital form or a draft letter made?
Is it going to Darren then, or are you going to?
I'll work with Darren and we'll get a draft letter and get it sent to Kendall for their club.
You said September 1st, correct?
yep.
Okay.
Preferably by the end of this week or early next week.
Right.
I type slow.
Okay, well, we'll get you a letter of support, and we appreciate you coming here this
Okay.
morning.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Yep. Okay. Next, we have the 2023 final ratio and 2024 procedural compliance. Eugene?
Morning, Commissioners. Eugene Rupp, Ellis County Appraiser.
Morning.
Just wanted to share with you some reports we received back from the state. If you would maybe show that one, Darren. This is our 2023 final ratio study report. In there, you'll see a couple lines highlighted in green, the top two lines there. That is our residential and our commercial. And again, this is for the 2023 year. This is our final report for how our values did for tax year 2023. On the residential, you'll see our median ratio was a 96. So basically 100% would mean we're hitting 100% of the values overall in the county. We scored a 96 ratio on that. The state does allow 10% either way to be in compliance. So On our residential ratio, we did the 96. On our commercial, we had a 96.8. In the next column, you'll see the COD. The COD, I don't want to get too technical with you guys, but that stands for the coefficient of dispersion. It's a statistical measurement that shows how data points in a set are spread out or variable around their median. So if you imagine a scatter chart or whatever, and you see the closer your points are to your line, you would have a lower CRD. If the points start getting further out, the dispersion is bigger. So it's basically a measure of a uniformity on those data points. On our residential, we did a 9.5. The confidence interval for that was 8.7 to 10.5, so we sat nicely in the middle with that one. On the commercial, our COD was 29. The confidence interval's a little larger on that. That's 29 to 49, or sorry, 18.6 to 49.1. Again, we're in the middle there, but if you would see the very far right-hand column, we only had 15 commercial sales, so not a whole lot of data points to base that number off of. The next area is the PRD. That is the price-related differential. It's a ratio that measures how properties at different price levels are appraised differently. It's a standard industry measure used to evaluate the performance of mass appraisals and measure value-related inequities in the appraisal system. A PRD can indicate whether appraisals are regressive or progressive. A 0.98 to 1.03 is considered acceptable. If you're under 0.98, what that means is you have higher valued parcels that tend to be overappraised, which is called progressivity. If you're greater than a 103, it means your lower valued parcels are overappraised, which is called regressivity. So again, this is just a measure of how our appraisals are kind of stacking up there. So with our residential, we had a 1.01, again, right in the confidence interval of 1 to 102. So that is excellent as far as residential PRD. On our commercial, our PRD was a 1.10. It does, again, fall within the confidence interval, but that lack of sales, just having only 15 data points, is really what skews that number upward a little bit. You just don't have a whole lot of data to hang your hat on when it comes to commercials. So again, we're within that confidence interval. So we did very well with that, with no more sales than we had to work with. So, excuse me. I start with that because that's our 2023 information. Darren, would you skip down to the page that looks like that? The page, I suppose I could have gone back, Darren, if you don't mind. We'll go back to this one. We'll kind of follow them in order. This is I'm now talking about 2024 information, and where we're at so far within this tax year cycle. This is the 2024 procedural compliance review checklist for Ellis County. I am not going to go through every line item here, but kudos to my staff and also Lisa Ree, the former county appraiser, because she had her hands in this a little bit too. But we got a yes on every item on here, so basically we hit 100% on our procedural compliance. And then I'll go to that next one there in the, it looks like this. This next document is the 2024 compliance review. And what I do want to point out on here is that section 1, that is statistical performance, that is actually 2023 data. The same PRD, COD, and median results that I just explained to you a minute ago. That is the only part of this document that will include 2023 information. 2024 information, again, won't be available till next year as far as statistical performance. But below that point, items, the mass appraisal process, items 2 through 5, we again did hit 100% on that this year. Again, that is kudos to my staff, and again, Lisa Reed did have her hands in on this one a little bit too, with some things that were done last year preparing for this, so. The next item would just be the letter from the state of Kansas. This one is just basically explaining that compliance review, but basically what I want to point out here is they consider 75% or higher to be within statistical compliance, so we've greatly exceeded that point this year. And the last document, I am not going to get into either here. It just basically goes over the dates when we submitted things, what was submitted, and basically this is all the work behind the scenes that leads to that 100% that we had. So, did you have any questions for me?
Well, nice work, Eugene. Appreciate the hard work that you're putting in. Are we running, I know last year or this past spring we were behind, you were playing catch up with some turnover there, so are we caught up and on schedule then?
We are fully staffed. It's the first time we've been fully staffed for a while, and we are seeing the results of that. Our 17% is what we're mainly working on right now, and last year I believe we did not get that wrapped up until almost the end of October. At this point in time, I don't think we're going to finish in August, but within September, with the exclusion of our commercial, I believe we will have our residential wrapped up. So we are seeing some improvement there.
Okay.
We do have some other projects that we would like to get into in regards to reinspection and stuff that we've never been able to in the past because of staffing shortages. So looking towards next year, as our staff gets more seasoned and more knowledgeable in what they're doing, I expect reinspection to pick up just a little bit. That's going to open up some opportunities for us to look into some of our other data sets that we can start basically reviewing to make sure all of our data is correct. Everything we do is data driven, and the old saying garbage in, garbage out really applies here. We put a lot of work into making sure our data is correct, or as correct as possible. You know, we are mass appraisal. We don't get inside homes or businesses, so we do. There are some extraordinary assumptions we have to take based on the exteriors of property. But again, the better you can have your data, the better your results will be.
Very good. Thank you.
So the 15 commercial sales, that's a low number overall, but is that high, low, average for like past years?
It might be a little bit low. I would say on a really low year, we're probably down closer to 10. A good year, we might have 30. You know, there's just not as much commercial businesses changing hands as.
How many sales would we need to get to be statistically sure that we're doing well?
So what you saw is the report card here that just basically is showing that 1 year. When we actually start doing our analysis, looking at setting values and stuff, we can, the smaller counties may go back as far as 10 years and look at data points. On the commercial, we look typically at 3 to 5. So even though the 2023 ratio report is showing just those 15 sales,
okay,
when we do our analysis, we're going to pull in some prior years as well so that we might have a little bit larger pool to work with when we're doing our analysis.
I'm going to make sure I understand this, so correct me if I'm not saying this right. So on the ratio, we'll use residential since there's a lot, and that's what most people are concerned about, their property values. It tends to be their home.
Yes.
The reason it's important to be within a ratio, if we were too low, if you were appraising values essentially too low compared to what they end up selling for, from a tax standpoint, that may seem like an advantage. You're not paying taxes, but at some point, if you're too low, the state, again, from a compliance standpoint, says you gotta get your appraisals in line with what they're selling for, which then affects large jumps in property valuation at some point.
Yes.
Instead of maybe a steady increase. I mean, again, right now in the last few years, We've seen some it feels like large jumps, but that's based on those actual sales of those homes, not on the appraiser deciding.
When we
Charlie.
set values in the market, there's always the misconception that we're raising values to raise taxes, and that couldn't be further from the truth. What we are tasked with is setting the market value for that property. So what we do is we analyze all these sales that come in every year, and what we do through that analysis is determine what is the most likely market value for each property within the county. What this ratio study here basically is saying that when we look at the median, the midpoint there through all the sales for 2023, our values were 96% of what they were selling for. So basically, we are still a little bit underappraised, but in all honesty, 96 is exactly where I would hope to be. Again, the state says, you can be within 10% either way and still be within compliance. You start falling out of that, and after, maybe not after 1 year, but after a few years of things not being in compliance, the state can choose to come in and basically take over the department and do what is necessary to get those values back where they would need to be in compliance. And I believe, unfortunately, they may bill you for that. But so we don't want to go down that path. We want to continue what we're doing. Keep setting our values at what the market's doing. And, the market is determined by buyers and sellers. The county appraiser doesn't determine the market. You guys don't determine the market. It's buyers and sellers that determine what market value is. What a willing buyer and a willing seller agree to is market value.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that statement, because that's what I've been getting several calls, and I have visited with you on that. So maybe that'll clarify everybody to see what's going on. And not only that, Eugene, with this report and with your staff good job, you guys and your staff.
And thank you. But like I said, it is a team effort. It's the people we've got working for us now, and I can't dismiss what Lisa did getting us to this point. So, again, it is definitely a team effort. I will repeat, Neil, what I spoke to you about. If anybody from the public does ever have questions, I know they come to you guys a lot, but my office door is always open. Anybody has questions about anything, feel free to give me a call or come in and stop, and we'll do our best to explain our processes to you.
And you did it. It looks terrible on paper. I mean, it really does, and that's why I was in. I brought my whole stack in, and
Yeah.
you went through it. Once you did, it was pretty self-explanatory after you.
Yeah, we're not always going to agree, but if I can at least let you leave with an explanation of how our numbers are arrived at, what we're doing to get to those points, that's ultimately all I can do is give you an explanation.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Eugene.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have an IT support technician job description change.
Good morning, Jennifer Taylor, Ellis County HR Manager. We are proposing a minor adjustment to the IT support technician job description. The job description you have in your packet is what we are proposing moving forward with. All we did was struck number 3 under the knowledge, skills, and abilities, which referenced GIS duties that are now in the GIS analyst position.
Okay. Seems pretty simple.
That's pretty simple. We like that.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the attached job description for the IT support technician.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have minimum road design and construction standards. Brennan.
Yes, sir. Morning, Commissioners. Brendan McKay, Ellis County Public Works Director. So about 2 weeks back, we had discussed the draft of these minimum road standards and designs for new development roads or new roads in the county. I have not received any calls from the public for any changes they would like to see. Is there any changes that the three of you would like to see in those minimum specs.
I haven't heard anything either, and
I haven't either.
I haven't either. And just for double clarity, this is for new construction.
Correct. Ideally, all of our roads would fit this standard,
Yeah.
but we also have constraints. When there's a new development, nothing out there to begin with, this would be for a new constructed roadway, so we can better maintain it going into the future. A lot of our roads were constructed back with 40-foot right-of-ways when they were first established in the 1800s. Some have been expanded upon. Not all of those roads need to meet this standard because they don't serve the same use. But when you have a new development with lots of new homes going in, increased traffic, having this already put in place helps set them up for the future.
And so, for clarification, there has been developments in the past, say, 10, 15 years that have been subject to road designs and approval from your predecessors.
Correct.
Are we replacing road designs or plans or updating?
This is a major update. What we currently have for plans is a basic one sheet of paper with drawing on it mainly. So there's a few developments out there that have privately maintained roads because they didn't meet the minimum standards for a road for the state at the time.
Okay. And
Right-of-ways were too narrow to be a public roadway.
Okay, and so these new designs that we're going to accept, these meet state approvals as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Minimum roadway width for a newly constructed road is 60 feet of right-of-way, which is what some of our larger main traveled roads have at a minimum. So this is what is required by the state now.
Okay. And because the question will come up, we as a county, we have roads that do not currently conform or meet these. That is not meaning that we're going to upgrade all these.
Correct.
However, it is a goal at some point in time we can meet this standard.
Correct. There's a big increase in cost if we were to try and implement this to all of our county roadways, and that cost wouldn't be justifiable because some of those roads, they are roads that are only used for getting crop in and out. There's no regular traffic on it. It does not need to meet a 25-year storm event for floodplains, so you don't have the increased cost to the drainage structures, nor does it need to have the 80 feet right-of-way because it would just cut into crop ground, and the amount of traffic kind of dictates that for us, so.
Okay.
And these are the standards that a development would need to meet regardless of whether the county, I mean, let's just take Whispering Gales on Yosemite. They'll have to meet these standards even though we have no intention of being a county.
They wouldn't have to. They could build them however
Because
they
they're
want,
public?
but if they would
Okay.
like the county to take ownership of them in the future, they should meet these standards.
Okay. Okay.
And we're not more strict or more lenient than any other county that has standards. So these are compiled off quite a few other counties, plus with information about materials and aggregates that are available in our own area added in there.
Okay.
Because a road is a road regardless of where it's at, but unpaved roads, there are differences between what's in Emporia and what's in Salina and what's in McPherson. Just the access to the locally available aggregates. Those areas have access to commercial quarries, so they require a specific specification of a stone product, and they require different specifications because of local production. Ours has, with what material and aggregates are out here, what we would do for our roadway. So we're not telling someone they have to go buy material from out of state or across the state lines or Topeka area just to meet our specs. We want to make it fair and consistent with what we would do on our own roadways.
Okay.
The one thing I ask, and I maybe I didn't see it in here, drainage for these systems. Do we have a place where we require engineering drainage studies or working with a watershed to make proper drainage and stuff like that?
Correct. It's under Part C.
Okay.
For bridges and other drainage structures. It dictates what types of pipes, head walls, no head walls, and the storm interval they will have to meet. So to do the storm interval, they will have to contract with, either be licensed themselves to do this study or contract with an engineering service to determine what level of storm level is out there, to what size culverts they have to design for bridges and structures. So that's on the third page of the 8-page document.
Got it. And that portion will be up to the developer or whoever's going to build it what they want to put in.
Correct. We do have a minimum size in there just so we can maintain drainage structures. We require a minimum size of any culvert entrance to be 18 inches. Any smaller than that on an unpaved road, it will plug shut in a matter of no time. And then with the length that you would be going for, a smaller size structure just wouldn't be able to handle any water flow, enough needed for the areas.
Okay.
Because as your tubes get longer, you actually get less flow through them because of the pressure change in there.
Brandon, I'm going to ask the question that kind of corresponds with Commissioner Liker. I know it's a state standard, but the bottom of the ditch, is there any specific width on the bottom of that? It's kind of goes to the drainage, but
No, not necessarily. So
Okay.
it would handle on drainage. They would have to handle, like a local road is a 5-year storm. That's nothing too major. 18-inch culverts in all likelihood should be able to handle that with a few key 24-inch culverts if there's a big waterway or larger. But in the specifications, in the drawings on the last 2 pages of this, it has generic drawings of unpaved and paved surfaces with their dimensions requirements that has the amount of flat bottom ditch or of E-ditch is allowed. With the 60 feet of right-of-way that would be requested to meet a new roadway construction for a local road, you have the ability to put in a 4 to 8 foot flat bottom ditch that should handle all and any water that would be coming through that area for the drainage requirements that we would have for them.
okay, thank you.
Are any of these standards above and beyond what, that somebody could say they're above and beyond what should be?
Not that I would see. I mean, the asphalt, we're asking for 4 inches. New roadway construction on interstate or major roads is 8-inch minimum. Does it need that amount? Not for local traffic. If it was a heavy industrial area, yeah, it probably could use something more. This is just the minimum point for them to get started with.
Okay.
And it sets us up for the future. If needs change, we have the groundwork in place to make those changes, or they already have the groundwork in place themselves to make the changes amongst themselves.
Very good. Any further comments or questions?
That works.
Okay. Well, with that, I'll move to approve resolution R-2024-11 for the adoption of the Ellis County Minimum Road Design and Construction Standards.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. And Brendan, while you're up there, I did receive an email from the residents of Prairie Acres thanking you, so
Yeah.
they wanted me to forward that to you.
All right. And Neil had sent it to me as well, and our Cintas vendor was actually out at the shop before we had gone back and reworked anything, and wanted to pass along to our guy that he did great out there, so we passed that along as well.
Okay. Next, we have Public Works Hours of Operations.
Yes, sir. So at one of our last safety meetings, we had a discussion to see what hours, as our hours will change here at the end of this month, going back to 8 to 4:30 is approved back in February by the commission. We had a few staff reach out saying they would like to say 410s year-round, so a vote was held. 410s was kind of an even split. We also had staff come to me and the other supervisors and management team requesting we stay 7 to 3:30 like we did over the 4th of July weekend. They really like that hours of operation. It gives them time to be with family after work, attend sporting events without having to take PTO. And it was nearly unanimous between all members of both divisions to request to be changed to 7 to 3:30 for the winter hours. 5 days a week, but 8-hour shifts, moving them an hour forward.
Okay. Well, this is the one, I have no problems going back to the 5-8 hours for work hours. I did, however, receive a number of concerns from multiple operators and at different levels.
Okay.
I think there might be some confusion because I believe some were not quite sure.
That's
the
what
decision
we
reached.
had a revote and called every operator individually
Okay.
before this agenda was published.
Okay. So that would be a concern that is actually
Yeah.
properly summarized and.
Yep. So we did a vote in person with all members. And then there was a few afterwards that approached me and said they'd like to change their mind. So there was some confusion with it too. So we went back out and called each individual one-on-one and had them take a vote if they wanted 410s or 5-day week, which one was their preference. And then even if it was a 4-day week, if that wasn't enough support, what would they like to see the 5-day work hours be? And it was nearly unanimous again. There's always going to be a few that have issues and can't make everyone happy all the time. So this was what the group nearly unanimously decided at both times where they were asked. On the 5-day work weeks, they would like to see 7 to 3:30.
Okay. My only concern with the 7 o'clock during the winter hours is our patrolmen that are out, that are supposed to manage territories.
Yes, sir.
It's dark at 7.
Yep.
So are we going to actually lose maintenance time?
No, because they have lights on their machines, and they're not always blading directly from their barrel out. They may have to travel to the extent of their end of their territory. So it'd just be a change in, instead of starting right at their barrel, blading away from their barrel, they would drive in the dusk conditions and blade back in towards their barrel. So there's still that travel time loss, but instead of doing it at the end of the day, they would be able to do it at the start of the day while it was still dusk.
Okay.
We're not the only county that would be starting at 7 in the morning during winter hours. There's quite a few that start then and some that even start at 6 in the morning.
Okay. Discussion, gentlemen?
That was one of my concerns also with because when I worked, we'd done that, and the 7 o'clock, there wasn't a whole lot of productivity, but if they'll stand by what you say, then, I'm good with that. I guess, and I had several phone calls also. There was a lot of discussion on starting on Memorial Weekend and on Labor Day, so
Yeah.
they definitely supported that. I don't know what results you have
No,
gotten.
and there's been a few, so if this is approved early next year, we'll take a vote again to see when we would propose to start our 4 10-hour days for the commission to approve or decide against. So we started this time just after the time change, and then we're stopping here basically when school starts, the end of August. Some enjoyed that, some didn't, but we'll take vote and present whatever the consensus of the group is.
And I guess the 7 o'clock too, if our community starts seeing, that they're not, then I guess we'll address that at
Yeah.
that point in time, so.
Yep, and the lights on the machines are phenomenal now. They're not the old halogens, they're LEDs, they're bright. Our beacons are even more visible in dusk and dark conditions for traffic coming by there. So it's just another way to do it. We wouldn't be the only county starting this early with operations. Some, like I said, some start earlier.
Okay.
I would like to address it a little more though, because tomorrow school starts, so we do have a lot of rural bus routes that could be interfered
Yep,
with our equipment on the roads.
correct.
So what is the thought process on alleviating some of those concerns?
That can be, we can have them not maintain their bus routes. That's what the previous county I worked for that started at 6:30 year-round did. We stayed off the bus routes till after 8:30. So the buses could get through, get the kids in. That way there's no working ridges on those bus routes. They maintained other routes. And they also did the maintenance where they drove away from their barrel, their furthest point for the day, instead of ending up the furthest point away, blade back towards them.
Okay.
Using the dusk hours to travel, or the dusk, it's not hours, but the time before the sun is fully up to travel back away from their barrel site, instead of doing that at the end of the day when the light's out.
Okay. That would be a concern that I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure was addressed.
Yeah, I don't have any comments on it. I guess it works for me.
Okay. I guess, so it has been addressed that all employees are aware that we're going to go from a 410 to a 5/8.
Yes, we knew we were going to a 5/8 at the end of this month.
Okay.
The request was that was brought forward to me, and then the two votes were held on with nearly unanimous agreement with it, was to request that we change the hours during this winter time from 8 to 4:30 to 7 to 3:30.
Okay.
Not pushing that 410s back any further, but a lot of staff like that over the 4th of July weekend when we just stayed consistent at the 7 o'clock to 3:30 over the 4-day period then when we had the 1-day holiday.
Okay.
Okay, I move to approve the change of hours at the Public Works to 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. effective September the 3rd.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Okay, next we have Ellis County Library Board announcement.
Morning, Commissioners. Darren Myers, County Administrator. The next topic is time to start the discussion on the new Ellis County Library, which was presented to the public at the primary election and passed, and the canvass was conducted yesterday, so everything is now official. So just to start the discussion of the next couple phases of the library board itself is to start putting the word out that the county commission needs five members of the public to volunteer their time to be on the board. And the first couple of paragraphs of this agenda item kind of encompass that and shares the information on what's to be expected, I guess, of that board. The 5-member board would be appointed, and as you can see in the bullet points, the time frames and what their terms will be and how they would start. These are all per statute of KSA 12-1222. So I can't really explain why, when we appoint somebody, that they would need to be reappointed within the next couple months as of April 30th of 2025, but those are all designed by statute. They would be 4-year terms, and each person could run for 2 consecutive, or a 2-term limit. So the citizen interest volunteer form was updated, which is on the Ellis County website, on the county clerk's form, or county clerk's website. And actually, as of yesterday, Bobby, the county clerk, had actually shared with me that we already have one person that has filled that up, or filled that form out, so I'll get that sent to the commissioners so you can see that form. I know each of you have stated that you have several members that have contacted you of the public to be of interest, so it sounds like we probably at least have 10, I would say, collectively between the individual conversations I've had with the commissioners. So if you could get those individuals to go to our website and fill out the forms, we can get those onto a future commission agenda item for the commissioners to appoint those members that the
Can you
commission.
pull that website up just on there real quick, just to navigate to it?
So it takes you directly to the citizen interest form. We updated the information here for the different types of volunteer opportunities, but right here in the center it states the county library board, and then you can click on either of those forms. One is you can fill it out online in PDF form and print it out so you don't have to handwrite it, or the other one you can just print off and handwrite it and turn it in as well. And then the information of who to send it back, or if there's any more questions, the county clerk's office email and phone number are on there to get that back and returned. The next step after that is to scroll down here, is in regards to what the next couple of years look like for the county library board. KSA, different statutes basically state that the county library board must, in cooperation with the governing body, which would be the county commission, would levy a tax of $0.25 for the 2 years before that the library board can actually make a petition to withdraw from the regional library system. However, with that, last week I met with the state librarian in Topeka, and we went over some of the statutes and the regulation, and I visited with Mr. Jeter on this as well to make sure the different thought process on how this actually works would be in place. But the budget has to be prepared by the library board before the county commissioners could actually levy the tax, because the statute actually states such. And in the county, or the Kansas Library Handbook, I believe is what the official title is, there's actually Attorney General's opinion in there that kind of confirms that. The library board would present the budget, the county commission would then levy that budget. However, that would actually have to start next year because there's no library board yet to actually prepare the budget for the commission to levy the tax. So as we move forward, in meeting with Mr. Walling, the state librarian, he is actually working on KAR 54-1-17 to make changes to that process of being able to make the request, or when you can make the request, or the library board can make the request to withdraw from the library system. And he's hoping by the end of the year, within the next couple months, that process would change. And then at that point, instead of waiting 2 years for the library board to petition to pull out of the library system, we could essentially possibly make it after the first of the year, so everybody knows up front and we'll not have to wait 2 years for that process to happen. I guess with that, I can stop and see if
But
there's any
the
questions.
taxing, we would still be in 2 taxing districts for 2 years, even though we'd know that we're going to leave CKLS. We would still have to have the Ellis Library and CKLS for those 2 years.
Yes, sir, you would just know up front, and then we would still tax for the county library and the regional library system. That part of the KAR and the statute wouldn't change.
And then the budget that is adopted by the newly formed library board would not actually be levied until first quarter or first of the year 2026. Is that correct? They would only present a budget in 25.
Correct. So as the library board is appointed over the next year, essentially, they'll have to organize, form bylaws, create a direction within their library board as they would see fit. And then come August of next year, they would present a budget based on the new taxing district, which is everybody outside the city of Hayes and Ellis, to determine what that quarter mil would be, because we have to maintain at least a quarter mil. And one point that the state librarian stated in regards to that quarter mil must be funded for a public library. So we couldn't have a quarter mil exactly and then have 5,000 of whatever that quarter mil equivalent would be as part of something other than a public library. So that is one thing that we'll have to make sure happens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I know I've discussed it with you, but establishing a board and getting it up and going is going to require probably some sort of financial to get it going. I mean, just papers for handouts and stuff like that. Is there anything that limits us as a commission from putting something in there to help establish that board?
I don't see why there'd be anything within the county budget. We don't have anything planned in the 2025 budget. So I couldn't speak for the board of what their request or what it would actually entail or how much they would need. But if the commission could choose, I guess some funding allocation could be sent to the library board to help them throughout the process over the next year until they actually get their budget in January, or their funding come the start of January 2026.
Okay. But we could address that maybe towards January or whenever we do kind of end of year transfers if necessary.
Yeah, if they would actually have something at the end of this year, if we have the budget authority and the commission would agree that that's something that we could use any remaining budget authority to help out.
Okay.
As far as a place for them to have a meeting, is this going to be something that'll be, the public can also come, or is this going to be a?
So it would be an actual district, so they're going to be required for COMA and CORA Open Records and Open Meetings Act, so they'll have to publish meeting dates, times, locations, et cetera, just as we do for the county commission. The commissioner could offer this room initially for them to start meeting if they would like, and then as they get established and they could choose to meet wherever they would so like to do.
Okay, that's what I was getting at, because once we get everything in here, then it can be publicized also. That way our community knows what's going on, and I think we should offer it to them. I mean, there's people that are volunteering, and that is a big challenge in today's world to get anybody to volunteer, so I feel that we should offer that to them.
I think after, that can be addressed in the future, because I would guess the group would probably meet in the evening or weekend hours, which would then require staff on overtime to be here to, one, open up the building, but then two, to record it. So that would be a concern that I would think our IT department would have in regards to overtime and that commitment outside their normal working hours.
Okay. Well, that was a comment I was going to make, is making sure we had the staff to do it, but I am open to that.
Mike, anything from you?
So we get the board a step, but they wouldn't take effect as a board until the first of the year. But we need to probably have,
If the commission would appoint, I guess Mr. Jeter could clarify, but I would assume as the commission makes the appointments to fill the board, they could start meeting as soon as any day after that point, I guess.
okay. Is there any guidance on ours, from our point of selecting? So we get 20 people to apply, and what determines?
Your only restrictions, they need to be 18 years old and residents of Ellis County, not living in Hayes or Ellis.
Okay.
The method you go about selecting would be entirely up to the commission.
Okay. Do we need to put an end date on this?
That's what I was just
Or
going to
kind
ask.
of a deadline?
I think so. Again, I think we have interest already that we probably have. I don't know if we have to wait till the end of the year. I wouldn't. I think we can, maybe the end of September or even October or something like that, I'd be good with. It gives us another month
I'd be good with that.
to,
Give them at least 30 days.
yeah.
Did you say October 1st?
Yeah.
And then we could collect the forms by then, and I don't know if we'd have, I don't know, the first October commission meeting, but at least you'd have 2 commission meetings in October to make your appointments then.
And then they can,
They could take more or less effect November 1st.
in November sometime, to kind of figure out
Okay.
their next steps. So worst case scenario, hopefully we find out sooner instead of waiting 2 years, and if they change that statute, but let's say they change the statute and then tell us, we're not going to let, so we do know that they're not going to let us out. What happens then?
Well, I actually joked with Mr. Jeter about that yesterday when we met. That would be very interesting. The State Library Board makes that determination based on the request from the local library board. And I don't know if we have an answer. It's definitely way outside my realm, but I'm not sure if Mr. Jeter would make a comment. But it'd be interesting that a board would override what the local voters would approve or did approve. So that would be interesting.
Let's hope to stay away from interesting and just stay in line. Okay.
Okay, well, I think let's go ahead and make a October 1st deadline for our applicants. And then we'll make selections sometime in October.
If the commission is okay, I'll kind of use this first part of the commission
That
agenda.
first board member, then would we have to determine who's first, who's second, who's third? So the first board member, they would only serve for 4 months and then would need to essentially apply to
They need
be
to reappoint them.
reappointed.
That's done so that they're staggered appointments, so that
Yeah,
you don't
over
replace
time.
the entire board at one time going
Can that
forward.
reappointment, especially for that first one, be, or do we have to wait until their appointment expires 4 months later and then reappoint, or can it be essentially reappointed earlier? That makes-
No, I would wait
Just
until
wait till-
it's expiring.
Okay.
Question on the first appointment, with it being such a short term, because it is not a 4-year term, is that board member allowed to do 2 consecutive after that, or does that first 4 6-month term count as a term? And that goes,
Off the top of my head, I can't answer that one. Let me take a look at that.
okay. It kind of go towards
Yeah.
all of them except for the final two. What constitute a term?
I thought that KSA
And it may
1222 said
address
that, but we can look into it. And
Okay,
I can-
well, that way, because I'm sure our board members that we appoint will be
They're asking.
questioning and asking what is allowable.
Okay.
Okay.
And since we're on the library thing, just so our whole community knows, out on my adventures out in the country campaigning, everybody's asking, where's the new library going? Is it going into Victoria? So, no, it's not. We're not building a new library, so.
It was very misleading on the election question, to say the least, but it is, we have to establish this so we can withdraw from the other.
Yep.
So there should be no changes services at all
Nope.
in the end.
Yeah.
I foresee none. The goal is improvement. So, okay, final draft of the 2025 county budgets.
In regards to the just more information, if the commission would like, I can do a press release and send the press release to Hayes Daily and Hayes Post to get that first part of that information out for anybody else that may not necessarily see it on our agenda, but they could see it on Hayes Post or the Hayes Daily and get something submitted, so that way they at least know that it's out there and the deadlines of October 1st.
That would be great.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And you're doing that today or
I'll get it done this week.
okay, this week sometime? Okay.
As the chair said, the next item is the final step of the second to last step, I guess, of the budget. The final work has been done over the last couple of weeks from the commissioners to make any final changes, and today is the update the sheet here. Is the final step before we actually before the commission actually approves the budget at the different hearings come September 10th. All the changes have been made. Everything is updated for what we have personnel-wise, and everything from the last two meetings that the commission has suggested is in here. And as the commission can see, the goal was to lower the mill levy for the general fund, and we got that accomplished with just over 0.6 of a mill reduction. And as it states now, before the final valuations are presented from the county clerk to the commission, we are just under the mill levy of what was levied actually all the way back in 2014. So the lowest the mill levy has been in over 10 years, which is, I would guess, great news for the taxpayers of the county. The next step is for the commission to move to approve the publication of the budget with the hearing dates and everything to be in the local newspaper and on our county website. So that way the pre-budget hearing can be had, as well as the revenue neutral rate can be had on September 10th. One thing that I will pass around to the commission, I want to make a notate on the budget document as you see it in here, and I'll show it with the community that is watching. There is one update that does not change the ad valorem tax, the budget levy amount, or the budget totals and dollar amounts for the county. But the lease purchase principal, I did add one more lease purchase that was not in this because it was a separate part of the process. So what I passed around is what I would share with the county clerk to have on the minutes as the corrected from the agenda to have that lease purchase principal. And I can email that to you in a digital format, so you don't have to scan it, it'll be cleaner. But that updated sheet and changes that lease purchase principal from just over $2 million to $2.8 million to include the lease purchase, all the lease purchases in Ellis County.
And that update is due to two fire
The
trucks
two fire trucks that were purchased in 2023.
that are still,
The fire district budget and the general fund budget are two different funds, two different districts, and the fire district is done after the general fund. So once I got the general fund done, I printed this sheet and it was ready to go, and then I went and did the fire district budget, and then I had to backtrack and add that in there, and I already had the budget presented and shared with the county clerk's office to publish, and so but everything is included in the fire district budgets. Like I say, the budget authority and the mill levies are all still the same. No change to those.
okay. Any final comments on this?
Yeah, but I lost my spot. I want to talk a little bit about 48th Street, because we had a joint meeting in City County, and it was a good meeting, but there's also some discussion about 48th, 41st grants, or our request on that, and possibly switching streets and roads around, but we're we're at the very final of our budget, so I don't think we can switch anything for 2028 or 2025. And that's where I got the capital improvements, Ellis County, pulled up here. We do have 600,000 allotted for the 48th Street project, so if we pursue another grant cycle in September, we would know by the end of the year, but if we're denied that, then we have it within our budget to possibly continue to look to improve 48th Street next year.
Correct. The 600,000 that we have set inside our budget for 48th Street would include the amount that was originally planned based on a previous cost share grant from the state of Kansas. We had 600,000 set aside from the county. The city of Hayes committed 200,000, and the budget estimate for the project engineer's estimate was 2.2. That left us with, I believe, about 1.5 million or 1.4 million. That was going to be the cost share portion of the state of Kansas. That would be replacing the whole entire road as concrete. However, it was about 2 weeks ago, they opened up the new cost share agreement, and they lowered their cost share amount to max of, instead of 1.5, it's 1 million. So if we were to be approved, we would address that issue with the commission. Brenda would bring it before, and we'd have to figure out a funding solution for us to increase our cost share, or work with the city to see if they truly do want it as a concrete road surface. They would see if they would participate in an increased amount as well.
Okay. And we have 550,000 for Vineyard Commerce paving as well, so we're looking to address those roads next year, hopefully one way or the other. And that was kind of the comments that came to me after that, is they were glad that we were getting together and talking about these roads, but in our budget, we are already kind of looking to address it next year, and the comments that I kind of got was, oh, you're going to push this down till 2026 or 2027, and I was like, well, I hope not. I hope we can address at least 48th Street next year, one way or the other, because we have it in our budget to do it, and that was kind of my concern coming out of that meeting is, well, I don't want to take this out of our budget and wait another year or something like that, or wait for the city to figure out their budget, because again, we're on our 25-20, they're going to get ready to pass theirs, so I don't think we can swap a lot around at this point. So that was just kind of my general comments of where we are with these two roads. That we have
some comments on them, Brendan?
No, just to speak on the cost share, Brenda McKay, Public Works Director. So the cost share, the fall funding generally has less funding in it than the spring funding does. So this fall letting is going to have $6 million in total and up to $1 million per project that's selected. So it's a little bit less money, a little bit less funding. We've gotten fall cost share grants before. One of the cathedral phases was a fall cost share grant. So we're not out of the running on that. And those amounts in there were kind of using a treatment option and using county forces.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there's such a drastic increase from county provided labor and a repair option versus a total replacement. Our labor is baked into our operating budget, so really it's just additional materials and consumables that is why that number is where it is on those capital plans.
And with these two capital plans from these, we've talked about piggybacking off of KDOT.
Correct.
Does this help capture that still?
Yes,
Where
so-
we're able to, maybe on both or one or?
Both can be potentially done by them if the contractor is selected, if the KDOT awards that bid, and if they're willing to do the work. We've done some preliminary investigation on our own to see what options are out there for repairs. They would not last forever. It truly needs a total reconstruction, but there's options out there available to us, whether we utilize piggyback off a state contract or do treatments ourselves.
Okay.
But it's not going to be a brand-new road. It'll have a new wear course on the top, and hopefully smooth it up, but those cracks will still come back through, or just the way we would repair it would hopefully minimize those cracks from reflecting through the surface as fast and as severe as they have.
Okay.
So the big change, the reason for that, we talked with emulsion oil supplier that's been doing it for the last nearly 40 years. Prior to the 90s and late 90s and early 2000s, they had a major issue with rutting on the paved roads. The asphalt and the oil was still soft and the mixes were soft, so there would be depressions in the driving lanes. That's what a rut is. So in the late 90s and early 2000s, they changed their mix designs up for what everyone was doing. Made the roads much stiffer, but with that said, that stiffness of the road pavement, it made it not as flexible for temperature swings. Because the failures we're seeing on that roadway are not from base failures, it's a thermal failure. So the asphalt grows and shrinks just like concrete does and temperature swings. The stiff material that was put in place there, because that was the designs at the time, to eliminate rutting, caused it not to grow and shrink with the temperature. It caused it to tear itself apart. So.
Okay. And then kind of shifting gears over on 41st and Vineyard, or Commerce and Vineyard. We have already started some of the process of employing some engineers to look at drainage designs, and we're already starting some of this process.
Correct. So part of that, the first thing that we looked into was the right-of-way through there, because there's a lot of utilities run on both the north and the south side. There's major projects going in that area here in the future, utility-wise. So discussion with myself, Darren, and then with the utilities that are going in there, making sure that we had what we needed to put a roadway in there prior to those new utilities going in, where it would be a much larger cost in the future to expand right-of-way if needed. So we've had those discussions. Some of the preliminary drainage studies have been done. We'll get formal ones done if we progress with this plan.
Okay.
Do you want to share the findings of the core samples, since you can explain that a lot better than I did on
Correct.
48th Street?
Yep. So the core samples we took were very consistent. They were between 6 and 8 inches of pavement laid in 4-layer lifts, which is good. It wasn't laid all at one time. The base of the pavement, the bottom course, is in great shape. It's showing no wear signs or frying. It's not failing and turning to what is termed black sand, where it's got an oil coat on the aggregate, but it's crumbly. So the asphalt's in great shape. It's just the mix did as the mix designed. It didn't rut, but it also wasn't as flexible as it needs to be for current measures. So there's been a lot of changes to how asphalt is made over the last 23 years. And unfortunately, without tearing all that out, the cracks will reflect through, but the process that we've talked through with the city and with vendors that do that work, they're hopeful and promising that we'd have a good product in the end. They'd just be doing repairs over a 3-year period, not just total tear out all at once, but that budget amount would cover those repairs over that period in time.
And that is us doing the work, is that correct, or is that us subcontracting out?
Some of it being potentially subcontracting. The intent for the potential option we're looking at for repair there, if we do not get a grant award, is piggybacking off the state, if that's available, to mill off 4 inches of the asphalt and come back with 2 inches. It's about a roughly 8-inch core is what we had. So we'd be dropping the surface down by 2 inches. But that first 2-inch leveling course, we would have that in there. Those cracks will most likely reflect. So after about 3 years, we would put a crack sealer over it to minimize that cracking. And then 7 years after that, put another 2-inch lift over it. So you're kind of cutting down the cracks from growing back as fast or as severe. So it'd be multiple repairs over a longer period of time, but the funding amount should be adequate for those levels.
Okay.
So, and if there isn't a contractor willing to do that, or at the time, if they're not willing to piggyback, we could do it ourselves. We would just rent a mill from a vendor to mill off the pavement. Ideally, have a contractor do that because that's what they do every day. But we can do it if necessary.
Okay.
An estimated cost and an estimated life of taking 4 inches and then putting 2?
They're estimated about like a 15-year lifespan.
Yeah.
We'd have a good driving surface for the next 15 years doing those recommended treatments. And those estimated costs, it'd be similar to what we paid for when we had Shenshin Road milled and overlaid. But the milling cost is the minimal part. Going back with 2 inches, similar to what we did on Shenshin Road. So the asphalt cost would be similar lengths of roadway, similar conditions. It's just there'd be a slight increase for the milling costs.
Okay.
But that was done last year. We don't know if the contractor is going to be if they're going to select a contractor, when exactly it would take place, or if they'd be willing to accept additional work.
Okay.
They can select someone and that we approach them about doing that type of work and they may be booked already and unwilling to do so. So
we can't do much until they select it, and then we kind of approach them.
well, we can do our own repairs to
Yeah.
it, but I'd recommend if we're going to go either after this grant or try and piggyback, I would recommend we hold off on doing anything to it because
Yeah,
unfortunately we throwing good money at bad.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm with Commissioner Burgess that it needs attention because somebody open up a garage up there right now, they'd probably be busy as rough as that road is, 48th, and it's getting worse.
No, I don't disagree with you at all.
Yeah.
Something needs to take place, whether
Something
we do
needs
it
to-
ourselves
Yep.
or we try and piggyback or we get a grant.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
might be beneficial if they're looking at total replacement. If we not selected this fall, the spring award is usually April, or the announcement for the spring.
Yeah.
That it's pushing it down further.
That's pushing it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm probably open to, at this point, of doing this fall, September, and then we'd know by the end of the year, hopefully the first of the year. And if we're not approved, I'm gonna probably be on the ship of we gotta do something ourselves. I don't think we can continue to just hope for a grant to come and,
No, so with the
Wait,
funding that the
so-
city is committed already to it and our funding that we have budgeted, we can do a repair, but it will not last as much as a new road will.
yeah. And I know they want a $3 million concrete thing, but without a grant, I don't know where we find the budget to be able to match anything, to be able to do that whole thing in concrete without delaying the rest of the projects that we have lined out for the next 10 years. So, I don't know.
Because we could also mill in the existing asphalt into the base like we've done to other roadways that have started to fail, and then go over the new course of asphalt over the top of it. It'd be a thinner course, but it would be within our reach for our budget, but if they're looking at expansion there for any businesses, I'd like to have more than just a 2-inch mat of asphalt. It can be done, but you have to be real quick on those repairs, so.
Okay. Brendan, while we have you up here and kind of talking about some asphalt roads and projects, South Ellis Avenue, do we still have it planned for sealing when it's ready?
It was never approved for sealing it. It was going to be coming back before the commission to put a seal coat on it. What was approved back then was us to mill the road into the existing base and then see how it held for a year and then come back and address that. So at the time, there was no direction given to seal over that, put a seal coat down on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we might want to address that and see if we
Right.
can do it, yeah. Does it need to have anything? I guess,
How is the
worked on
condition of the road?
Before the fall or winter and make sure it's in
so-
good condition?
No, so we bladed it. We bladed it here before when we had the moisture. Our intent is they're not soft areas anymore, but there's slight depressions on the hill, the first hill you approach, and then right before the curve. And going into the curve, it's not a soft area or not a true depression, but there is a slight change in grade. We intend to put the serrated blades on the grader because it packed down so tight to open those up and reshape those sections.
Okay.
But other than that, We've had a few people call into our office saying how much smoother it is. Our traffic study showed that people are going even faster now than than it was when it was a paved surface that was failing. So I think the public's, from what has called into our office and what we've seen from traffic studies, the public's happy with the condition of the road as it is.
I think so.
Their speed has increased quite a bit on it, unfortunately.
Like I say, it's got a few fish ponds in it, but we'll get them out of there.
Just
Hopefully
like
get some-
any unpaved
any
county
other- yep.
roadway.
Yeah.
I mean, it's concerning to see the increase in speed on it. I'll be honest there, but it is a wider surface now. Just hope people follow the speed limit signs because our average is currently above the posted speed limit.
And you said what was that speed limit of the or the speed that the one person was going?
93.1 miles an hour is the highest recorded speed on that stretch. It's a 55 mile an hour speed limit zone. The average speed was above 60 miles an hour on there, and less than 100 vehicles per day traffic.
Gotcha.
The traffic level you start looking at paving a roadway, in most cases, is 750 vehicles to 1,000 is where you start looking. When you're close to that 1,000 vehicle per day limit is really when you start looking at it's more economical to pave a roadway, to keep it in good condition. So we don't meet that level of it, but it's up to the commission to decide if they'd like it to see it back into a paved roadway.
Okay.
Don't
If
want
I
it
recall
paved,
right-
But I think sealing it would probably be all right, so,
Sealing it would turn it back into our asphalt road system.
yeah.
It doesn't meet the traffic levels or the type of traffic to justify that, but it's up to the three of you to decide that if you'd like it back pavement.
Okay.
It's performing great as an unpaved roadway.
Well, and we talked we would address it this fall after it had a chance to settle out and get back. So it's obvious we're not at that point yet.
No, it wouldn't be done this year. That was what was decided
Okay.
this spring when we were given the direction to do it.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, if
Thank
we-
you.
If we do decide to seal that, we got one chance to do it right the first time, get that road in good condition.
Yep.
And I
And
know
that's why
you're
the
working
point
at
for
that.
letting it settle for a year was to allow it to, any inconsistencies in the surface to be reworked and smoothed out before putting something over the top of it where you can't get back into the base without doing a total reconstruction. But like I said, it is performing great as an unpaved road surface in Ellis County. I mean, the traffic levels are justify an unpaved road, and the speed of traffic is showing us that they're much happier speeding on this road than they were as it was. Not a good thing, unfortunately, but if they're willing to drive 93 miles an hour, it must be a decent road, I guess. I would hope that the public doesn't continue that, just for safety of themselves and others on the roadways. I know I've been passed on it when I was doing 55, had the cruise set, and I got blown past like I was standing still when I was out there, so.
I did the same thing. That's when I was driving it, and
Yeah.
I seen it coming in the rearview mirror, and
It can't be that bad if people are willing to speed that fast on it.
Got it.
And then, do you recall on 48th what the traffic count was on that? It was like 600 or 800?
No, 48th Street,
No?
the estimate from KDOT is roughly 3,405 vehicles, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I believe that one is 3,405 on we've recently received from the state an update for us to work with the city to update our FAS routes between the city and the county. And with that, they included traffic count maps. That one hadn't been checked by the state recently, but their last traffic count had an estimate of 3,405 vehicles, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a great candidate for pavement for that
Yes.
amount of traffic. And then Vineyard and 41st Street, I gave the information to Darren. We had one at 92.2 miles an hour on that one, if I'm not mistaken. I know the first part, I don't know the decimal part off the top of my head. And that was roughly 600 to 700 vehicles a day on Vineyard and Commerce Parkway, that loop. So that's getting to the point where it's justifiable budget-wise to pave that roadway.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the information.
Yep, thank you.
Going back to the rest of the budgets, any other
What we're doing?
any other comments before we move forward? Are we ready?
I think we're, I move to allow the county clerk to publish the 2025 Ellis County General Fund and Fire District budget in preparation of September the 10th budget hearings.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion
I'll
carries.
just make just the quick note, just so it's in there twice for the minutes, that the amended
That amended.
budget form would be the one that we're approving with the updated to the lease purchase principle, is what I'll give the county clerk to have published.
Okay. All right. Okay. With that, we'll move on to administrator report.
I have nothing this morning.
Okay. Commissioner reports. Michael?
Don't have much in general. We had the joint city-county meeting last week, participated in that, and I think it was a good discussion to talk about roads, as we just did now, figure out what our major projects are to move the county forward, and city and county in the next, 3 to 5 years as we look to grow and expand and add retail and add housing. So I think it was a great discussion.
Okay. Mr. Younger?
Yeah, also share that same thought there. And I also did go to the City of Hayes meeting. And also I went to the treetop security, and Michael was there also, and that was very interesting. There was a lot of good talk there, and everything good for our whole community. And then I also did attend the Tiger auction and the dinner, and there was a lot of, I know money's tight, but there was a lot of money going around that night, which is good. That helps us keep our college here, and we shouldn't have to worry about that. And I also did go to Victoria meeting last night, and they got some exciting things gonna hopefully happen if everything works out right for them. So, and then I guess I have a question for Darren on how our bids are coming on our building, as far as the seal bids, if we're receiving, or
We have one individual that has came out and toured the building previous to several weeks ago, and then Brendan had talked to the property owner adjacent to the property, Mr. Geist, to see if seems like he may be interested. And I shared with Commissioner Liker last night. I do have a voicemail from yesterday to call an individual back. I'm not sure if it's an interest in purchasing the building or just something else. But other than that, we've not received any sealed bids, and those are really, there are only two individuals that have expressed interest. But that date is coming up. I believe we set September the 4th, I believe, middle of, or about 2 weeks away, I guess.
Okay.
and have we started moving anything into the new public works yet? Brandon, if you would.
So the building isn't turned over to us to move things in there yet, so nothing from the inside has been moved. We've moved some of our external things that won't grow legs and walk away, like our spreaders are put out there so we can move the spreader rack and reassemble it. A lot of the material has been moved from the yard, not all of it, because we still want, till we're out of there, we need to keep some on hand, but we've been moving things as time allows. That now that the fence is up, once it's fully being able to be secured, we'll be moving more of the exterior things into there. We didn't feel comfortable moving culverts and things like that up there without a way to secure them.
Okay.
Because unfortunately, those things have gone up drastically in price, and we don't want that material to walk away.
Because I've talked to several people, and they said that we're moving things up there, and I said, to my knowledge, we are not, because the building is...
A lot of it has been moving, as we discussed. We're going to use the old millings that are in the yard with coarse pieces in it and aggregate, and blend them together and grind them up to cover around the front, the parking lot and the access road. So that's what a lot of the material that's been brought up is that. The other stuff is just general fill items and things like that from either a project site or from our current yard, moving some of the rubble up there that we'll repurpose for riprap.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Only thing I have, I was addressed by, or contacted by a resident over in Ellis. He was contacted about a county rental voucher program. I contacted the clerk, I've contacted the sheriff, I've contacted courts, district courts. We do not have a county rental voucher program. So if any landowner or homeowner or lessor gets presented with this, this is more than likely a scam. There are certain programs that are administered through courts, and they will contact and deal with those people directly. It will not come through individuals. So I just want to make that known, that that is out there in case anybody gets presented with it, that there is a possible scam going on that has our name attached to it. So, okay. With that, we'll be moving towards executive session. I move that the Board of County Commissioners recess to executive session for 30 minutes under the following exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act pursuant to the non-elected personnel matter exception. Subject to be discussed is during the executive session is a personnel matter. Open session will resume at 10:35. Those in attendance, in addition to the Board of County Commissioners, are Kim Reel. So with that, I've got the motion. Anybody want to second it?
I will second that.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We're late.
That, no?
Oh.
Oh, you're close.
We're trying. No decisions have been reached. We're going to extend our time for the first executive session for another additional 15 minutes, returning at, sure I'm right, 10, huh?
10:50.
10:50.
Seconded.
Okay. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
treasurer's in their own little group. They got out years ago.
Okay. No decisions have been reached. All right, we're going to go into our next executive session. I move the Board of County Commissioners recess to executive session for 30 minutes under the following exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act, pursuant to a non-elected personnel exception. Discussion, subject to be discussed is during this session is a personnel matter. Open session will resume at 11:24, 11:25. Those in attendance in addition to the Board of County Commissioners are Bill Jeter and Jennifer Taylor.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, no decisions were reached. We're going to go back into executive session for another 10 minutes, returning at 11:36.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay. Okay. You just, no decisions reached?
Yeah, or
Okay.
no decisions reached.
Okay, we're going to go into executive session, Board of County Commissioners for 15 minutes under the following Kansas Open Meetings Act. Subject to be discussed is, during the session, is personnel matter with non-elected personnel. Open session will resume at 12 o'clock. So those in attendance, in addition to the Board of the Commissioners, are Mike Liker.
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay.
o'clock?
Huh?
Noon o'clock.
Almost.
You
I said
already
we'd
know.
resume at 12, so we're early. Do we want to be technical? Probably should.
I'm just a little hefty clerk.
Yeah, we should, I think. I don't know. Can we tell if anybody's on the YouTube watching the little screen to see it pop back on? I suppose we should.
I don't want to be accused of,
I don't either.
Ending a meeting and we're waiting at noon and then they come back on and you guys are gone.
yep.
Keep it in. since you still have
Especially
it.
with the executive sessions we have, we probably should make sure we're questions asked. I was thinking, you know, with the vote that we rejected, and then I was looking at some past, past ones, most of those come from the campus area. If you had a polling station on campus, you know how many?
Oh, it's
we'd go
open?
through
Okay.
We'd be rejecting.
All of them.
Oh, hey, Mike, just an FYI, we are live, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just like, that's just another reason to.
We still can't resume until 12.
But should they be live?
They can turn the camera on, but we can't take any motion or any, you can turn it on and be live. We can't do anything or make any, until 12. Okay, we'll resume open session at 12 o'clock. No decisions have been reached during the executive session. We will adjourn the meeting at 12 o'clock. Thank you, Paul.
For that person that's been waiting for 2.5 hours to see if any action was taken. Sorry.